Okay, we're in the Maimer, and we're starting the next ice, which is page 3. It's ice Beis in the Maimer of Lachacha Tavshin Beis. You do the sentence also, or just? Okay. We did the first few lines, so we'll back up a little bit and start again. So what he said before was that Lech Lecha means go to you. This is the Pirush of the Alshich. What does it mean? So this Maimer explains it means connect to your essence. Good morning. Connect to your Shirish and Neshama, to the source of your Neshama. What does that mean? He explained that the Neshama, when it comes down to this world and enters the body, only a small part of the Neshama goes into the body, and that small part of the Neshama is called a Ha'ora. It's only a ray of light or reflection of light of the essence of the Neshama. The essence of the Neshama remains L'mayla. We explain what that means. We're not talking about remains L'mayla in a different geographic location. It's a spiritual thing. Remains L'mayla means it doesn't change in the sense that it still sees and hears and experiences whatever is going on up there. It's part of that world. And we don't feel that at all. We're totally not conscious of that. What we are conscious of is that small part of the neshama that's in our body. And he explained that this part of the neshama is also called mazel, because mazel means that it flows from there to here. So the neshama up there sees something which is very exciting, and the neshama gets all excited. Down here we don't see it, but the person could feel excitement. The neshama up there hears words of Torah, the neshama down here doesn't, but suddenly a thought comes to a person's mind that's a result of the fact that the neshama up there heard something new in Torah. And then we said we can expand this to many other things. If a person is inspired with Shabbos, inspired with Rosh Hashanah, inspired with Yom Kippur, person inspired by being in the Rebbe's presence, that's because there's godliness in this place that's being revealed, and the Neshama L'mayla sees it, and the Neshama L'mayla understands what it's all about, so it gets all excited in one way or another, and that excitement flows into the conscious part of the Neshama. So the conscious part of the Neshama, something changes in the person consciously. So now, after you explain that the main thing is to make that connection, now the question is how to make the connection. Ois beis. However, the Gleish is Chabrus. Etzem HaNeshama, Im Haris HaNeshama. Hamul Beshes Beguf. In order for there should be a connection between the Etzem HaNeshama and the part of the Neshama that's in the body, B'shnei Ifani is Chabrus. There's two ways that this connection to take place. Like we said, generally speaking, the connection is not so conscious. If it would be, every single person walking on planet Earth would be a tzaddik gomer. If we would down here feel and see what our neshama feels and sees up there, we'd all be spiritual people. In fact, that's what a tzaddik is. Tzaddikim are people that their conscious neshama feels and experiences what the neshama is feeling up there. There's nothing blocking. But the average person is lacking that connection. And we want to have the connection at least to some degree. So there's two ways it can be made. One is Mimaylo Lamata, that it comes from above and it descends below. It begins up there and comes down there. Shehuinyan, this is what was said before in the previous ois. Hahazola, v'hatofa, the etzem neshama, the flowing of the essence of the neshama, which means, remember he said before the pasuk Neizlin min levanin, that the word levanin is the etzem neshama, And the Levanim represents Chochmah and Bina, and that flows into the Hardus and the Shama Mlobeshes Beguf. That's one way. The Im but there's also another way, which is from down up, which means we down here take the initiative to do something, and that makes the connection between us and Neshama up there. And that's based on the pasuk Yaakov Chel v'Nachlasei, that the relationship, the connection between Hashem and the Yidden is compared to a rope. And there are many details in that analogy that's why we use the rope. Where's this pasuk? This is the pasuk in Chumash. We showed the pasuk yesterday. So by the way, this is also terms in Chassidus. I don't have to say this is very, very common, but I gave out this sheet yesterday with the terms. So this is on Oiz Beis, the second, which on page 16. It's used in context of so many different things, but it means one is that it goes from up downward, and the other that it begins down here and goes upward. So what is the other way? The other way is Yaakov Chel v'Nachlasei. Just like in a rope, when you shake it down here, it shakes up there. That is something we can do to arouse the neshama up there and to make that connection. So Shnei find in both of these ways. It's primarily through tefillah, through davening. The tefillah comes from the word chabrus, to connect. Where do we find such a thing? There's a Mishnah. Interesting, I just saw this in the Rambam the other day. If there's an earthenware vessel that break, and you put it back together again. So teifel in that context means to put together two separate pieces, to connect. So they're tefillas from the term connecting. And this is the meaning of what it says. Yaakov in his dream saw a ladder. The ladder was standing on the ground. But the head of the ladder reached into the heavens. Moods of Arsa, when it says it's standing on the ground, this is the neshama which is mulubish in the body, so it's on the ground. When it says its head reaches all the way up into the heavens, that's the roots of the neshama, the source of the neshama, Shiva Shemayim, that's up there. By day has in the tefillah, and through this ladder of davening, like it says in the Zayar, Sulam da Tzlusa. These are the words of the Zayar. Sulam da means this is, Tzlusa prayer. Tzlusa is the Aramaic for tefillah. Through the davening, he meschabrim yachad. So just like in the ladder in the dream connects upstairs and downstairs, that's how our davening connects upstairs and downstairs, means the part of the neshama that's down here connects it with the part of the neshama that's up there. And this is why in davening there are 4 levels, like a ladder. A ladder, in other words, this was a metaphor of a ladder that had 4 rungs. What are the 4 parts in davening? Baruch Shomar, Yetzer Krishma, and Shmeina Esra. So, Baruch Shamar, just go to page 38.
It's not saying like Baruch Shamar is the first level?
It is.
Isn't there also like everything you do before Baruch Shamar, the second level?
Right. No, Baruch Shamar is the first level. Everything before Baruch Shamar is sort of just an introduction, orientation, preparing. But when you start climbing the ladder, the rung is Baruch Shamar. And Baruch Shamar goes until Baruch, until Yishtabach, 38 and 39. You see how Yishtabach finishes over the bracha? Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, gadol muhulu b'tishbachis, keila idois. So in the Shulchan Aruch, when we say these are 4 parts of davening, it's actually 4 parts concerning halacha. That there are different halachas regarding the 4 parts. So once you say Baruch Shama, you're not allowed to talk out. Even you can't, certain brachas you can't even answer amen. Certain parts of Kaddish. Before Baruch Shama, you can talk out. You can even speak about something personal. That means you still didn't really start the davening. But here, it's not only you started the davening, you open the davening with the bracha. And just like you're not allowed to interrupt when you make a bracha, this bracha opens up with Baruch Shama, and the bracha ends with Yishtabach. It's not 2 separate things. Yishtabach is the ending of Baruch Shama. Most brachas, are just a bracha. But there's certain brachas, they begin with the bracha and they end with the bracha. For example, Al HaMicha. Starts off, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, Al HaMicha v'al kol. And then you say the piece. And at the end, you end off again. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, Baruch atah Hashem, and you finish off the bracha. So that's why you're not allowed to talk out. When you get to this bracha yotzer, that's the beginning of the 2nd rung. And here the halachas become more strict. This part of davening is called Birchas Krishna. These are the brachas leading up to the Shema, not the Shema itself. Brachas leading up to the Shema. Turn the next page, the Shema, that's the 3rd rung in the ladder. And the 4th rung is Shmona Esrei, page 41.
Brachas before Shema are their own step, and then Shema itself is another step?
Yeah. In other words, there's a mitzvah to say the Shema. That mitzvah is in the Torah. The Chachamim, the sages, introduced that before you say the Shema, you should have the brachas of the Shema. We have this both in the morning and we have it at night by Ma'ariv. We say brachas before the Shema and after the Shema.
So when they say that each gate is like each rung is like a gate to like the next world, so like
Right.
the first one is a Sia, Baruch Shamar, and then it's and then,
Yeah.
okay.
So being that we're talking about the gate and the ladder, I'll tell a story that the Rebbe, I think, has said more than once. I heard it from the Rebbe definitely more than once. And that is that the Mezritcha Magid had a, I should wait with that. Well, he will explain it later. That basically the 4 rungs is like us ascending 4 levels. The first rung is Olam Asiyah. The second rung we're ascending to Olam HaYetzirah. The Krishma, we're going into the world of Bria, and Shmona Esrei is going into the world of Atzilus. And that's why Shmona Esrei, we have to stand. In Shmona Esrei, we don't move, we don't wink an eye, we don't do anything. It's total focused concentration, because in Shmona Esrei, we're standing in the presence of the highest level of Kedusha, the world of Atzilus. So the story that the Rebbe told was, in this story we get a bit of an understanding what is a Rebbe, that the Mezritcha Magid had a good friend, that when they were younger, they used to study together. And then they hadn't seen each other for years, and the Mezritcha Magid became the Mezritcha Magid, the leader of the Chassidim. And he also was a great person. He wasn't a Rebbe. So he came to visit the Magid, and then came time for davening. So he went to daven. Now when he davened, and because he also knew Kabbalah, when he davened, he had all the kavanas of the Arizal in the davening. Davening took him quite a while. But he saw that the Mezritcha Magid davened much longer than him. So after the davening, he said to the Mezritcha Magid, I don't understand. When I'm davening, I have in mind all the kavanas of the Arizal related to davening. And I'm sure you do too. So why does it take you so much longer than me? As the saying goes, Jews always answer a question with a question. So he said to him, What's your situation for parnasa? What do you do for your parnasa? So he says that his wife runs the store, and he travels once a year to the big fair where you buy the merchandise, and he brings it back, and she is the one that runs the store. So he asks him, how long does it take you to get there? So he says it takes time. I travel on the way, traveling to meet different business, I buy and sell, and then I go to the big fair and I spend time. And then on the way back, I also have merchandise that I sell to different people, different merchants. On the way back home, I stop off in different cities. And he told them how long it takes. I'm not sure what he said. Maybe it would take a few weeks or a few months. And the rest of the year, his wife runs the business. So the Richard Maggid said to him, I have a advice for you. Instead of making that trip, which is a very difficult trip, lock yourself up in a room, close your eyes, and picture every detail of the trip. How you get onto the wagon, and how you travel through this city, and you do business with this store and that store and the other store, and then you finally arrive at the fair, and how you're going to different booths and buying different merchandise, and then how you get back on your wagon and go back home, and you stop off in different cities, and you deal with different merchants. But go into every single detail, don't miss anything out. It'll probably take you hours, maybe 16 hours. I don't remember the number, I'm just saying a number. But it won't take you weeks or months. And if all these hours will be over, and then you can spend the rest of the time learning. So he looks at the Maggid and says, but if I want to come back with the merchandise in my hand, I have to travel there myself. I can't just sit down and think, I'm going here, I'm going there. So the Maggid said to him, well, the same is with me. If I want to come back with merchandise, I have to travel myself. If I go myself, it takes a little bit longer. What does it mean? It means there's one person that davens and he's thinking, this corresponds to Asiyah. Okay. This corresponds to Yitzirah. Okay. This corresponds to Bria. Okay. This corresponds to Atzilus. That's the person who's davening with the Kavana, according to the Arizal. The Maggid didn't just have in mind, he went there. He went to Elam Asiyah, he went to Elam Yitzirah, he went to Elam Bria, and he went to Elam Atzilus because he has to come back with merchandise. So if you go yourself, it takes longer. That's the difference between the davening of the Maggid and what it means to just have in mind. So these four levels, so why are there these four levels? Here is not, it is connected, they're all corresponding, but here is mentioning the neshama, that there are four levels in the neshama, which you mentioned in the previous ois. Tahirahi, it's pure, that's Atzilus. Barasa, that's Bria. Yitzarta is Asiyah. Nefachta, you blew it into me, that's Asiyah. Being that the neshama goes through four stages to come down, it starts off in Atzilus, goes through Bria, goes through Yitzirah, then comes down Asiyah. So kach behalom umata l'mayla, so too, when it has to go up, tzricha gam king this alis, it also has to go up. Adei madal madregish b'tefillah, has to go through four levels in order to make this trip complete. V'zeu lech lecha, and that's what lech lecha means. That through the davening he could ascend and reach his neshama l'mayla. So that's number one. Now we understand the word lech lecha. Another question he had in the Maimon was, why does he emphasize eretz? He told him, lech lecha me artzecha, leave your land and go to the other land. Why does he emphasize the eretz? In order to make this connection, is dafka ba'aretz, has to be in the land. What does it mean? Like it says, what land is this? It's the land that I will show you. And the same applies to davening, that davening has to be b'spalu derech artzam. You have to daven, the davening goes through the land. Which land? Eretz Yisrael. And that's why when we daven, we have to face east. We're facing east, in a sense, directing our prayers to go to Eretz Yisrael. And through Eretz Yisrael, it can go up. So he's explaining now, what is the emphasis on Eretz? The next, if it's written, Teitze Haaretz Nefesh Chaya, that the land should produce a living soul. Page 42 is where you have the pasuk. It's the pasuk in Bereshis. Here the Eibush was creating the animals, and that's what it means b'pashtus. But Chazal say, that this is really alluding to also the neshama of Adam Harishon, page 3. And why? Where do we see the connection? Because there's another pasuk that says, "Vayhi ha'adam l'nefesh chaya," that Adam became a living soul. The same term, nefesh chaya. So when it says here, the earth should produce a nefesh chaya, it's also alluding to Adam. The simple meaning is the animals, but it's also alluding to Adam.
Like his nefesh versus his neshama?
His neshama, yeah.
So wait, what was happening here before, like, it says that Hashem breathed into him and Hashem?
What is happening where?
Like in that pasuk, what is it alluding to?
Pashat Pshat, it's alluding to that on the sixth day, they should create all the animals.
Mm-hmm. But then what about when Hashem like blew into him? Neshama. Is that separate? Like, is this his nefesh and then that's his neshama or something?
Oh, I don't know. We have to see the differences. But this is one pasuk on page 42. The other pasuk is on page 43, where it says clearly, that's after Hashem blew into him, and how he became a living neshama, right? Mm-hmm. But here, it's really talking about the animals. But the Gemara says that it's alluding to the neshama of Adam Harishon. Why? It must be something there that shows us that it's not to be understood only literally, there's something deeper there. It doesn't say what that is. So that's one opinion, that it's alluding to the neshama of Adam Harishon. And where is it coming from? Aretz, from the earth. And is the Amri, then the Gemara says, there's another opinion that says, Shekoya Ruchish HaMashiach, that it's alluding to the spirit of Mashiach. So one opinion says it's the neshama of Adam, the other opinion says it's the neshama of Mashiach. So what is this all about? What's the thing with Aretz? That this is the source of the neshama. Eretz HaChayim. The land, meaning land of Eretz Yisrael, is called Eretz HaChayim. Where do we find this? In the pasuk, Es halach lefnei Hashem b'artzes HaChayim. So again, put down the psukim, it's page 44. This is in Hallel, which is from Tilim. And we see that the land is called the land of life. Obviously, it's full of life and a source of life. There's another pasuk in Yecheskel, that's on page 45, where it says, there's still terror in the land of life. Which land is it talking about? The land of Eretz Yisrael. And you see it's 4 times here on page 45. Once and again and again and again. So Eretz Yisrael is called the land of life. But I know what's the connection why it's called Eretz Yisrael, the land of life? Because Chochmah, the sphere of Chochmah is called life. There's a pasuk that says, and Chochmah Techaya. Where is this? Page 46. This is a pasuk. The full pasuk reads, HaChochmah Techaya Balel. Wisdom gives life to the one that possesses wisdom. So in the meantime, we see that in the Torah, it associates Chochmah with Chayim, with life. Another pasuk is where it says, Yomusu v'loy b'chochmah. It says Yomusu, which is here, that's on page 47. V'loy b'chochmah. How do they translate that in the English? Let's take a look at pasuk Aleph.
They died without wisdom.
What? And they died without wisdom. But being that it says they died without wisdom means that when there's no wisdom, then there's the opposite of life. When there is wisdom, there is chayim. So this is connected to the fact we learned before that in the realm of wisdom, the realm of seichel, there was no shviras hakelim. Remember, the shviras hakelim was in the realm of midos, in the emotional realm. Shviras hakelim. Yeah.
Before you go further, I think I'm just a little lost. Like right now, what are we doing right now with the word Eretz? Like we're just bringing it from the second now.
No, we're looking to find the association. Why does it say that the ladder of Tefillah has to be standing on the Eretz? Mm-hmm. So in order to explain that, he starts by saying that Eretz is, number one, we find this is the source of Mashiach's neshama. This is the source of Adam's neshama. So to understand, why is that? Explain that, he says, we find that Eretz is called Chaim. Why is that? So he says, because Chaim is Chochmah. So what? That's where we're up to. That's where you got lost. Actually, he didn't get lost. So again, when the sequence is like this, davening, the ladder stands on the Eretz. Why? So in order to explain what Eretz is, he brings the source, that Eretz is the source of Mashiach's neshama and Adam's neshama. So now we need to understand that. Why is that the source of the neshama? So the answer is because Eretz is called Chaim. So now we need to understand that. Why is Eretz called Chaim? And now he explains, because of Kabbalah, Eretz Yisrael is connected to Chochmah, and Chaim is connected to Chochmah. Why is Chochmah synonymous with life? Because Shviras HaKelim, which is the opposite of life, things broke. We learned in the previous mimer that Shviras HaKelim was on the emotional level, because in the realm of intellect, there's no Shviras HaKelim. As we explained, that intellectually people can see different ways of thinking, different approaches. There doesn't have to be a clash. One can tolerate the other. Where do we find that when there's two opposites, they clash and there can be Shviras HaKelim? That's in the realm of Midas. In fact, if the Seichel has influence on the Midas, then the Midas also won't have Shviras HaKelim. And the reason why in the world of Torah there was Shviras HaKelim was why? Because the Seichel, the intellect, was disconnected from the Midas. So we see that Seichel, wisdom, which is Chochmah, has in it like Lochen Nikrasa Chochmah Chayim. Page 4. Uksiv, and there's another puzzle which says the Chochmah Yosad Eretz Keinen Shamayim B'Tvuna. With Chochmah, Hashem established the land, and He made the heavens with understanding. Again, this is also a pasuk, probably in Mishlei. Yeah. So it's on page 48. Hashem founded the earth with wisdom, He established the heavens with understanding. The simple meaning is Hashem created heaven and earth with intellect, with wisdom. But you see that He makes a difference. Earth was created with Hashem's Chochmah. And the Shemayim was created with Hashem's Tvuna, which is Bina. So again, we see the association between Eretz and Chochmah. Eretz and Chaim. Chochmah and Chaim. They all belong to the same group, so to speak. Uksiv, and then there's another, and here it says, Havaya b'Chochmah, that Shem Havaya rests in the sphere of Chochmah. So Shemayim, Shachem Tvuna, Shemayim was created for Hashem's Tvuna, which is the Inyan of Bina. Tvuna is the same word. Acharetz in Imsheches, Mekabeles, Mabchinas Chochmah. But the earth, that receives, and that is something which is a product of Chochmah, not Bina. So this explains why the land of Eretz Yisrael is called the land of life. It means it's a land shemekabeles mabchinas chochmah shnikra chayim. That Eretz Yisrael gets its chayis from the sphere of chochmah, and being that chochmah is life, so the land is called the land of life. You might remember from Tishrei, we learned a chapter of Tanya, talks about the Rosh Hashanah, but in that chapter it talks about the pasuk, very relevant today, that Eretz Yisrael is the land that Hashem has His eyes upon the land from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. And that chapter in Tanya, the Alter Rebbe says, what does it mean He has His eyes on the land? So this is connected to another subject in Chassidus. that the difference between the eyes and the ears is also Chachma and Bina. In other words, Chachma is perceiving something visually, and Bina would be compared to perceiving something in an audio way, that you hear it. This is the difference between the two Shvatim, Reuven and Shimon. Reuven comes from the word Re'iyah, Shimon comes from the word Shmiya. So basically, Chachma and Bina are also a difference between the eyes and the ears. When it says about Eretz Yisrael, Hashem's eyes are on the land, it's another way of saying Hashem's attribute of Chachma shines on the land of Eretz Yisrael. Now, how is that associated with what he said before about the neshama? So he says like this. This is what it says. The land should produce a soul of life. And who is it? The soul of Adam Harishon is for the same reason. Now, Adam Harishan's neshama was from Chaya. What does that mean? Omar Rabbi Seinu. Our sages say, Chamisha Shemes Nikru La. The neshama has 5 names. And what are the 5 names? Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya, Yechida. And the fact that it's 5 names is not just that it's the same thing with 5 names, but the 5 names is an indication that there are 5 layers of depth in the neshama. And each name corresponds to another aspect of the neshama, another dimension of the neshama. So being a spheres, Nefesh is Malchus. Ruach is Zah. Neshama is Bina. You don't have to work too hard. I made a chart for this too. Look at page 46a. So it's all done for you. So it says that the Yechida Nefesh corresponds to Malchus. Ruach corresponds to Zah, which are the midos, the emotional attributes. Neshama corresponds to Bina. Chaya corresponds to Chochma. And Yechida corresponds to Kesed. It reads a pasuk. The pasuk is, it says, Nishmas Shin Dalajut Tevinem. The neshama of Hashem, the neshama that Hashem gave you, Tevinem will understand it. So that means that we're using the term Bina when it comes to the neshama. Even though here he's saying that the specific word neshama is more chokhmah, right? Neshama is Bina, Tevina, no, neshama is Bina, Chaya is chokhmah, right? Chokhmah is called Chaya. The Chayu b'chinas Chochma. The Nishmas shel Adam Harishon oisem b'chinas Chaya shu b'chinas Chochma. So this is the difference between Adam Harishon and Mashiach. Adam Harishon's neshama is from Chaya, which is Chochma, and Mashiach's neshama is from Yechida, which is Kesed. What does it mean his neshama is from Chaya? Every yid has nefesh, ruach, neshama, Chaya, Yechida. We all have all the 5 levels and all the 5 layers of the neshama. And every person has these 5 levels of the neshama. But what he's referring to is something much deeper than that. And that is that just like each individual neshama has 5 levels, so too all of the Yidden collectively, and all Yidden from the beginning of time until now are all part of one neshama. And that one neshama collectively has 5 layers of depth. So when we say Mashiach is Yechida, is not only mean that he has Yechida. It means that if you talk about all the Yidden collectively, there's a neshama which is the Yechida of all the neshamas of all the Yidden of all the generations. Where is that neshama shining? That shines within Mashiach. And the same is with Adam Harishon. Adam Harishon was the source of all the neshamas in the whole world, actually. Everybody in the world, all the Yidden surely come from the neshama of Adam Harishon. So his neshama is also a source of all the other neshamas. So we're not just saying that he's chai. It means that on a collective level, if you pull all the Yidden together and all the generations as one single soul, the neshama of Adam Rishon compared to that would be like chaya compared to the rest of the neshama. Did I lose you already? A little? A lot?
Maybe a little.
Yeah.
Just if in order for the neshama to connect to all the other essences of the souls above is through the directive of tefillah. In the case that a person, for whatever the reason may be, which it is applicable to many people, doesn't have the ability to pray in the way that the Rebbe here is directing us, how is it possible to be woken up in the way that we're saying that we need to wake ourselves up, especially in today's time?
Well, maybe by learning about it and thinking about it and saying some Tillim and asking Hashem, please help me get there without tefillah. I mean, today you can get places without a ladder, with a helicopter, with a jet, with a spaceship. So maybe there's other means today. So in other words, this is saying, just like on a personal level, Yechida, even though there are 5 levels, how do we divide the 5 levels? They too have a division. There's 2 parts to the 5. Anyone know how that goes?
The Chaya and Yechida.
Right. Chaya and Yechida is one part. Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama is another part. In fact, in many places, it's an acronym, Naran, which stands for Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama. And it means that, generally speaking, the Chaya and Yechida, this is more about the part of the neshama that doesn't enter the body. Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, that's the part of the neshama that does enter the body. So the Chaya Yechida is more the part of the neshama that's abstract, that's infinite, that's above and beyond the limitations of the guf. In fact, we have to understand more specifically what is the difference between Chaya and Yechida, but one is more unlimited than the other. So just like on a personal level, the Chaya and Yechida of a totally different caliber. Again, that's the part of the neshama we don't feel, we're not conscious of. That's the part of the neshama that would lead a person to have a serious nefesh al kiddush Hashem. That's the part of the neshama that has amunah that's indestructible. That's the part of the neshama that makes us who we are as a yid. And that's a very deep part of the neshama. In other words, it's considered unlimited compared to the other parts of the neshama, the conscious part. So too, on a collective level, all the neshamas of all the Yidden. So we're saying that Adam Rishon possessed a certain part of the neshama that was much greater and much higher than all the other neshamas, similar to the way Chaya would be compared to all the other souls. And Mashiach is the Yechid of all the neshamas, that his neshama is even superior to that.
Can you say that one more time? Mashiach's soul is superior to
Adam Rishon's soul. In other words, just like in a person, we have Yechida, and the Yechida is totally different caliber. That's really the essence of the neshama, the part of the neshama that nothing in the world could do any damage to it, nothing in the world. Why? Because its connection to Hashem is on a whole different level. And its love for Hashem is unconditional, it's unlimited, even less limited than the Yechida, than the Chaya, rather.
Neshama of Moshe connected with Rabbi.
Yeah.
So it says that Rabbi connected with Neshama of Yaakov because from him all the tribes went like righteous Jews.
Right.
So why identification?
Right. So in a way, it applies to all those that are like Mashiach, like each person, like Moshe Rabbeinu is also Yechida of Klal Yisrael. So you have to go into the sort of very subtle differences between one and the other. But here he's saying Mashiach. Let's not forget that in every generation, and this is one of the sources, the basis for the Rebbe's words, that in every generation, whoever possesses the Yechida over the generation, that person is going to be the Mashiach of that generation. Because that's the soul that is responsible and includes in it all the souls of the entire generation.
So now no one possesses Yechida, right? Right now.
What?
Now no one possesses Yechida, right?
Only the Rebbe has it. I mean, we all have Yechida. And not only that, the truth is there are, let's say, certain tzaddikim that they are tzaddikim who have 100 students, some of them have 1,000 students, some of them have 10,000 students. That means also that in their group, they're like one neshama on a smaller scale, and their Rebbe's neshama is the yechida of that collective neshama. It's like the example to think of is always how it was in Eretz in the times of Mitzrayim. There were 12 shvatim. So let's say one tribe had 53,000 people. 53,000 people, so in a way they were all connected because they all belonged to the Shevet of Reuven. So in some ways they were also like one neshama. And who was the yechida of that one neshama? The Nasi of Reuven. But he was only a Nasi of that group. It was the yechida of that neshama. And Shimon was the yechida of his neshama. Each one. And Moshe Rabbeinu was the yechida of all the neshamas of all the tribes all together. That's the difference. Okay, to be continued.